So, hey everyone, and welcome back to the shift where real talk meets real change. I'm your host, Jessica Sanchez, and today we're going to be talking about something that's been weighing heavy on me. It's political, it's painful, and it's personal. And we're going to talk about Albrego Garcia, a young man who should have never been sent to El Salvador, a young man who's become the face of a growing, horrifying pattern. And that's people being erased by systems that claim to protect us. And before we get into this, I just wanted to also give you guys some factual information in case you guys do know about what's going on with the wrongful deportations and how systemic injustice targets the most vulnerable and what we can do about it our end. So let me give you some facts specifically to this instance of what happened with Kilmar Abrego Gracia. So he is a Salvadorian national. He lived in Maryland for approximately 14 years. He was married to a U.S. citizen and was raising three children with disabilities. So just imagine, right? Um, Having to go through this as his wife having to go through this traumatizing experience within itself. So let's give some facts here, okay? So in 2019, an immigration judge granted Abrego Garcia withholding of removal due to credible threats from gangs in El Salvador, specifically Barrio 18, okay? This legal protection barred his deportation to El Salvador. So let's go into March 2025. So despite there being a standing court order for Abrego Garcia that you know that he had legal protection within the US banning him from being deported, well, the US Immigration and Customs Enforcement, which we call ICE, on March 12th, 2025, deported him back to El Salvador on March 15th. And later, the Trump administration acknowledges this as a administrative error, or they don't want to acknowledge it, I should say, because ICE came, they stated it was an administrative error, but it seems like the Trump administration is trying to hide its tracks here. So upon arrival, he was incarcerated in El Salvador, and they have a high security prison known for housing alleged gang members, okay? Um, A U.S. district court ordered the Trump administration to facilitate his return. The U.S. Supreme Court upheld this order, okay, stating that his removal was illegal and that the government must assist in his release. So, the Trump administration has been claiming that Abrego Garcia was affiliated with MS-13, citing factors like his attire and, an informant's testimony as well. However, he has never been charged with any crime, and his attorneys have been disputing these allegations. So as of April 2025, Abrego Garcia remains detained in El Salvador, and efforts to secure his return continue amid the legal and diplomatic challenges. Now, um, going, just, going more into this whole situation, that's been happening with Abrego Garcia. Um, Look, should we have to have a real conversation, right? First of all, this is a young man that should have never been sent to El Salvador. A young man that's, become the face of this big national horrifying news, and this pattern that we're seeing by the Trump administration, excuse me, to send people that are here with protected status, to send them to El Salvador. And we're seeing more and more of these instances happening with the Trump administration. Okay. Like people being erased by systems, right? These systems that are meant to protect us. So, if you ever wondered how the government gets away with deporting people under the radar, if you've ever felt powerless watching lives torn apart by policy, or if you've ever asked yourself, why isn't anyone talking about this, right? Then this episode is for you. So, let's get into it, guys. Let's get into it. Okay, so who is Abrego Garcia? Abrego Garcia. So let me give you the real story, not the sanitized press release mumbo jumbo that we've been hearing, okay? Not the legal jargon, just the truth. Abrego Garcia is a young Venezuelan man who came to the U.S. seeking asylum, fleeing violence, chaos, and conditions most of us couldn't even imagine. He had no criminal background. He complied with every check-in, every fingerprint, every court date he ever had. And then one day, without warning, he was taken from a courthouse in New Hampshire, loaded into a van, and sent to El Salvador, a country he's not even from. Okay? So there was no due process, no headlines, no accountability. And there's chilling footage as well of an elderly man trampled on the courthouse floor while ICE agents move like shadows, right? Um, and then we just see Abrego Garcia gone, just like that. And we have to ask ourselves, how does this happen in a democracy? How does this happen in the United States of America? So the dangerous silence around deportation. So here's the thing. Abrego's story isn't an outlier. It's a symptom of a larger disease. The U.S. immigration system has been broken for a long time, but lately it feels like we're not even pretending anymore. People are being deported in the middle of the night. Children are being detained, and we're supposed to just look away. No, let's be clear. Deportation is violence. It's not just a bureaucratic decision. It's a forced removal. It destroys families. It rips apart people from their communities. In many cases, it's a death sentence. And yet, there's so much silence. The media barely covers it. Politicians speak in sound bites, and people who speak out, activists, whistleblowers, even faith leaders, are dismissed or discredited. Why is this? Because the truth is inconvenient. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And once you hear it, you can't stay silent. So, why this matters, and for all of us, right? Some folks might say, well, that's immigration in the US and in America, and it doesn't affect me. And some people might have these preconceived notions because they don't have to deal with this systemic racism, because it is part of a systemic broken immigration system, but part of it is fueled by systemic racism as well. Well, because I'm entitled, I'm privileged, or it doesn't pertain to me, it doesn't affect me, right? Or because I haven't dealt with it, right? Or because we live in a bubble called the United States of America, that we feel that we're exempt, right? Because we haven't faced real struggles in this bubble, right? And yes, many of us minorities, we have faced slavery, um, racism, segregation, just so many things, right? But living in modern day history, we are so desensitized from it all and being, I would say, brainwashed by media. And this is why having agency is so important. Being able to use your critical thinking skills, it is immensely important because, well, here's the truth. If they can erase Abrego, they can erase anyone. Okay. Silence in one area of injustice always spills into other areas. The same forces that um are closing abortion clinics, okay, banning books, gutting voting rights, and criminalizing protests. These are the same people that Abrego Garcia was detained by, okay, which is, as we know, this insane, corrupt, ridiculous administration, okay? And this is not just about immigration, it's about power, about whose pain gets pressed, whose suffering is swept under the rug. Abrego is not a headline. He's not a case number, he's a human being. And what's happened to him should shake every one of us up. So, the shift, right? What can you do? So now what? Let me be real right now at this second. Okay. None of us can fix this alone, but we're not powerless. Let's talk about it, right? Um, Everyone can do their part by sharing Abrego's story using your own platforms, whether that's a podcast, just as I'm doing today, at the dinner table, via social media, during your posts, via your feed, or even at your church, okay? If that's what you guys commune in your social circles. You can contact your representatives, demand transparency around courthouse deportations, ask what protections exist for asylum seekers, support organizations on the ground, groups like Raíces, Al Otro Lado, and the Tension Watch Network, who are fighting back every day. And most importantly, stay awake. Don't let the silence numb you. Don't let the system erase people without a trace. Because the second we stop paying attention, that's when injustice wins in this case. And that's something that we cannot allow to happen. If you're still with me, thank you. This episode wasn't easy, but the truth rarely is. If Abrego's story moved you, please share this, okay? And, make your voices heard. Let's make noise. Let's build awareness, and let's shift the narrative. And if you want more unfiltered truth like this, subscribe now. We are on all major streaming sites, Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and Spotify to get weekly exclusive episode updates as well. You can be a paid subscriber on hero.fm. That's HIRO.fm to get exclusive episodes, behind the scenes commentary, and tools to help you stay engaged and empowered. So guys, once again, this is The Shift, Real Talks